When done properly, the internet, screens, and particularly social media can provide 5 essential elements of adolescent well-being: a sense of control over one's environment, individuation, self-expression, a connection to others, and acceptance. And then there is the abyss. Welcome to App-Propriate, a podcast designed to give you a little taste into the positives and negatives of the most popular social media apps, so that you and your most importants can make more informed, healthy, and safer choices when it comes to interacting through your screens. I'm your host, Joe Langford. Note that I said safer, not safe. Interacting through screens with other humans contains a degree of natural risk, just like real life. And I believe that education leads to empowerment, and I hope this information helps add a degree of safety, social responsibility, and good digital citizenship to your social networking and the conversations you have about it with your family. Today's episode is about creating social media profiles. A social media profile is a reflection of yourself, a representation of you viewed by anyone who accesses it on any device. Your profile is an opportunity to create and post information about yourself, sometimes augmented and sometimes relying on a hopefully well-chosen photograph. Most sites have you choose a profile picture, either an actual photo or an avatar, which is a graphical image or an icon that represents you, but also allows you to hold a degree of anonymity. Depending on the platform, one or the other or both are most appropriate. Keeping in mind that your audience will see your profile picture and probably before they know anything else about you, it's important to choose a picture not only that represents you accurately, but that won't reflect negatively on you or your reputation. Because your profile pic is often the first thing people see when your profile pops up in platforms, searches, or notifications, the selfie rules apply. Don't hold the camera too close. Lens distortion will make something look off. Pay attention to what's in front of you and behind you. Good lighting is important, preferably bright and right in front of you. Behind you should be something either simple or interesting, but either way not too distracting. This is a photo of you, maybe with the Space Needle in it, but not the other way around. There are a range of editing apps out there, and changing a few things such as the lighting of the picture, clearing up blemishes, etc. is fine, but avoid the temptation of using every option and filter available. The photo is meant to be a representation of you, and you want to retain some level of your natural self, so less is more. Keep in mind there are reasons that we don't think that we look good in our own photos, ranging from self-esteem stuff to the fact that most faces are asymmetrical, along with the fact that, with very few exceptions, most cameras give us a view of ourselves that's not only probably a bit distorted, but flipped from the version we see when we look at our reflection in the mirror, so we're just simply not used to it. So don't worry if you hate taking selfies. Most people do, at least at first. The more you do it, the easier and better the photos will become. And avoid offensive anything in your profile picture. Nudity, alcohol, racial, phobic, or other offensive language or signs, etc. Your photo should ideally communicate something about you in your day-to-day life. Maybe you look great in that swimsuit with your abs all abby, or decked out from your last theater performance or wrestling meet, or super sexy in the Halloween costume, but for your profile, a fully clothed, relaxed, and chill photo is the best way to communicate a bit about yourself to the rest of the world. A social media profile also typically includes opportunities to say words about yourself, in the forms of a brief description, information about what you're studying or where you work or how to contact you. Information about where you live, what you do for fun, and your relationship status, including times when you're looking for a specific kind of relationship, like a new job or a date, can also sometimes be included. Creating a positive online profile is an art and an acquired skill set, and as parents, it's important for us to help our offspring think carefully and critically about what their profile says about them and the audiences for whom they're intended. The fact is, irresponsible social media conduct can disrupt relationships and negatively impact your education and career, not to mention hurt other people in the process. Most of those consequences are preventable with just a bit of guidance and perspective. So I've pinpointed the 4 main categories in which people, especially those new to social media or younger users, make mistakes with regard to their profiles. The first one is safety. Social platforms can give a huge range and control over what information about yourself is shared. Some parts of your profile are usually visible to everyone. And when kids are setting up online profiles, they should take precautions to make sure their profiles aren't revealing too much information. Ideally, they should use their real name, perhaps not their last name if they're not in high school, but at least their real first name. Becky is much more likely to do and say things that Becky would do and say if she shows up as Becky. Billy is more likely to say something obnoxious or out of character if he's Hot Guy 2020 to the rest of the world. It may also be okay to use a pseudonym, though this should be safe for sites with a specific target audience, such as gamer sites or situations in which safety can be an issue. Generally speaking, you don't want your kids to include any contact information other than an email address. No home numbers, no physical addresses. And given that some platforms can shout your GPS location, Snapchat, I'm talking to you, it's important to teach kids to mind their settings. It can also be a good idea to create a separate email address for social networking connections in order to protect your normal account from getting cluttered with spam or phishing emails. Birth dates can be okay, but phone numbers should be privatized or not used at all. It's important to be careful about what personal information kids share, both on purpose and on accident. In fact, if you have the option of making your information private to just you and your friends, which most responsible sites do, your kids should choose this option at least until they're 16. We are all vulnerable to online predators and identity thieves, but younger and less experienced people are more so. The most common ways that kids up the likelihood of themselves being hacked or targeted by bullies or creepers is through overly specific check-ins. Things like shouting out something to or about a friend, posting a picture of their class schedule, their work uniform, a team jacket, or a dog's collar with an address or phone number on it. All true stories, by the way. As parents, we need to help our kids learn to be purposeful and clever with their check-ins on social media, and to look at their photos and posts critically, with a predator's eye, to make sure that they're not leaving breadcrumbs that someone nefarious can follow or use against them. I encourage underagers to do very little sharing, especially of location clues, when they're out in the world alone. Context is the second category. Primarily when talking with kids, I encourage them to not hang out with the wrong crowd online. This involves resisting every friend and follower request that comes their way, and understanding that the number of friends on Instagram is not a contest or a real-world badge of how popular or cool or foxy they are, even though to them sometimes it really can feel like that. Giving strangers access to the personal information contained in their profiles opens them up to all sorts of potential problems. Especially when they're young, we want them to be very selective about who they allow into their world. It helps to give kids a litmus test, such as only friending people you've met in person, or who you'd have to your house for dinner, or who you would buy a birthday gift for, etc. This helps them make choices. Along those same lines, I encourage young people to not hang out with the wrong crowd offline. Maybe you're smart enough to not post a pic of you doing something silly, stupid, scandalous, or sexy, but that doesn't mean that your friends are. It's always a good idea to choose your friends and other importance very carefully. But for those who are coming of age in this hyper-visual and connected culture, those moments can go very far beyond the sweet plane of youth. And even a totally innocent picture of your kid holding a bottle of root beer or a red silo cup can look like something it isn't. Maybe it's Sprite, maybe it's an IPA. What matters is what it looks like to the casual observer, and if your name gets tagged to the photo, those threads and connections to a profile can add up, and not always in a positive way. Beyond that, it's important to be aware of the platform or platforms that they're on. Different apps have different rules, both culturally and in their terms of service, and what's okay or expected on one platform may not translate to another. Some people employ cross-profile sharing, so having posts on one platform auto-share to another one. I generally discourage kids from doing this. It's really more of an important practice for those who are marketing a brand or a business across social media, because the further out one lets that net go, the less control and consciousness you have with it, and the easier it is to screw something up or cross a line. Related to this, regardless of what platforms kids are using, properly setting up privacy settings and preferences is key. This includes securing profiles with strong passwords that consist of at least 8 alphanumeric letters and special characters, which we do not share with friends, even the bestie. With passwords, I have what I call the diaper rule. Only share your password with people who have or will eventually change your diaper, period. Use the features within each environment to delete problematic comments, wall posts, pictures, videos, notes, and tags. Don't feel obligated to respond to messages and friend and follower requests that are annoying or unwanted. Disallow certain people from communicating with you or reading certain pieces of content you share, and allow access only to those you trust. Turn off your location sharing and the ability to check into places. If you need to let your friends know where you are, just text them, using your phone rather than sharing it with your entire social network. That being said, platform improvements and changes to privacy policies happen and can get hard to keep track. Privacy is an important part of profile management and good digital citizenship, but above that, understanding that anything done online is never truly private, and encourage your child to act accordingly. Never prioritize privacy settings over good judgment. The third category inexperienced social media users make mistakes in is integrity. What you post on social media can make or break your reputation. When you're posting online, it's important that kids consider who will see their posts in the immediate moment and in the future. Kids are not always well practiced in thinking that way. Things released online, including profiles, are part of your child's digital footprint, and unwanted content is getting easier to find and harder to delete, if even possible at all. Their online image and impact will become more important as they grow up and begin applying for jobs or colleges, entering the adult dating pool, though anything that's inappropriate can lower someone's impression of them at any age, and it's never too early to help them learn how to monitor their own behavior with objective eyes. Many sites allow you to customize your profile with wallpapers, personal interests, likes, relationship statuses, and other types of information. Many underagers don't spend a lot of time considering the reality that the internet is forever, and that information that they're not concerned about today can come back and bite them in the reputation later. As with updates and posts, it's important to keep in mind what type of public image we want to project as we customize our profile and load it up with personal details. Not only are first impressions super important, but the potential for employers, dates, colleges, in-laws, even grandchildren to seek and gain access to their social profiles is very real. It's human nature for teens to take risks, to try new things, and to make stupid, sometimes very stupid mistakes. It's how we become adults. And every adult has that thing. That's a capital T that and a capital T thing. That stupid, regrettable, out of character, maybe even illegal thing. All you parents listening know what I'm talking about. That thing that you've never told your parents about. That thing you're probably not going to tell your kid. That thing that, had it gone a bit more south, could have ended up with someone seriously injured or maybe jailed or maybe dead. We all have that thing. And I want you to consider for just a moment what life would be like if your thing had been videoed by your BFF and was floating around somewhere on YouTube today. Because that's one of the major differences between our children's cohort and the cohorts that have come before them. Everyone has a camera with them at all times. And though it may seem like a good idea at the time to add an incriminating image or information to a social media profile or a feed, the consequences of doing so can be very real. The final category in which I see kids making mistakes in terms of social media profiles is impact. Those things that don't represent your child's true or best, most mature selves can follow them for years to come, and kids do not always understand this. Some of them have a hard time thinking 5 minutes ahead, let alone 5 years. But that ability of thinking critically about the images that represent us online is an important part, not simply of creating profiles, but of social networking in general. Social media is playing a larger and larger part in how companies consider employment, how colleges make admission choices, and even some financial institutions are looking at online information as a predictor of security, and people who leave a trail of irresponsible choices online may not be getting lines of credit or bank loans. Parents and schools can spend a lot of energy helping kids craft college essays and impressive resumes, but teens need to be aware of what they're sharing on their social networks and guidance creating accurate and positive online impressions. As parents, it helps to remember that, though our offspring can be and seem more savvy with the technical aspects of, say, how Snapchat works, they still need some advice and perhaps assistance with the actual social pieces, like creating profiles. And finally, the profile is just part of good digital citizenship. And a positive digital footprint is more than the collected info about you on your social media platforms. It's also about how you are connected and interacting with others online. Your connections, your tagged photos, your comments, others' comments about you. It's good practice for us all to occasionally Google ourselves, just to see what's out there, review the content related to us, and work to remove what isn't a true and accurate reflection of the people we work to become. Instilling habits such as these in our kids, beginning with the creating healthy profiles, will set them up to put their best thumb forward and help them make good choices both online and off. Thank you for listening. I'm Joe Langford. I'm a therapist, a sex and tech educator, and a dad, and I specialize in helping families navigate that intersection of adolescence, sexuality, technology, and behavior. More information about me and my work to promote healthy, positive, and safer sexual and social behavior, both online and off, can be found at my website, beheroes.net.
The advice presented in this podcast is a form of education and is intended to provide general information about common though broad topics that impact underage people. Specific circumstances and facts may make said advice unsuitable and/or other actions necessary for individuals. This podcast is meant to be an adjunct, not a replacement, for IRL experience, professional advice, and good old-fashioned common sense. In addition, much of the information included here can and most likely will change with time, culture, and the rapid development of technology. BeHeroes.net does not seek nor accept any monetary gain or financial support from any social media platform mentioned. BeHeroes.net is committed to providing quality consulting, coaching, product, speaker, and contracted therapeutic services, advocacy, and resources to clients, visitors, customers, colleagues, and fans. Appropriate is produced by BeHeroes.net.